Warsame, thank you for being with us here today. You are invited in the framework of the Collaborative Arts Partnership Program.
Thank you for inviting me, and it was really a pleasure meeting you all, and I'm really pleased the way you welcomed me. I can't say more, but just to say thank you for all what you have done.
And would you be so kind and introduce yourself briefly and in which field you're working?
My name is Warsame Ali Garare, and I'm a human rights lawyer in Ireland, and my field of work is more about migration and refugee law. But I have done a lot of collaborative art projects with an artist called Anthony Jorge, and that's why I end up in so many arts projects.
Would be nice to hear about your experience with these artistic projects.
And although I came from a legal background, and my experience of art project were before I got involved or I went to that direction of human rights and legal field. And for me, since I got involved in art project, I become connected with, and it has been almost 12 years since I was involved in collaborative art. I don't know, sometimes I can't define myself where I am placed, whether I am more into art or into law, but one thing that I do recognize that it was a learning process for me, and in any project that I got involved, I always learned something new. My work in human rights is more related to an area of migration and refugee law, and we always try to tackle a cause which is somehow challenging for those who are struggling, whether they are refugees or migrants, and sometimes people label in different names. In my view, I just put them in one category, which is people all seeking one big necessity in life, which is to survive. So, and I don't know if I tackled your point in that, but connecting the arts and my field of work, and sometimes it's all mixed up, and I always try to take it as it is, as a whole, and not try to differentiate.
But it's actually interesting because, like as you said, in the legal field you're working on the big issues. It's in the end the big questions and the laws which are in the end for all. Yeah. And sometimes the art projects are working much more on a smaller scale, also with very few persons. So how is this relationship for you? What does this mean for you, or do you see it like that?
And no, really, I don't see it like that. And I see, the aim of ours is to shed light to an issue which is somehow invisible, and for me, I have to sometimes put the ball on the side of the artist and ask questions and saying, okay, and what is your goal, and what's your role of social responsibility, and where is, and what are your values, and just take the question on the other side and ask, instead of distancing and yourself out of the and that social responsibility which every profession or anyone in society has to take.
And actually, from the very beginning, so you studied law in Dublin in Ireland, but you worked even earlier in Malta with art. Could you just briefly explain what you did in these first art projects in Malta, and how was your start in work with the field of art?
As I told you before, and I used to live in Malta and arrived in Malta as a refugee, and similar to the situation of most of the refugees arriving to Europe at this time. They were fleeing from war. At the time I left Somalia, fleeing from civil war, and end up in Malta. And I was working with an organization and working in a reception center, and in between I met an Irish artist who was invited to take part of a project, and an art project called Search for Space. And the idea of that project was to look at the struggle of migrants living in Malta who arrived in Malta accidentally. And because Malta is a small island, a small dot in the Mediterranean Sea, where most of the migrants who land there did not come as a target, but they were going to Italy, but accidentally end up in Malta. Malta being a most densely populated country one of the most densely populated country in Europe. So the title of that project was that search of the space and the struggle in between.
And starting with this project, right now you have already broad experience in collaborative projects. What is the challenge of intercultural, transcultural collaborative art projects? Because sometimes they are even more challenging than others.
And it has been almost 12 years, and since I become linked with Anthony Jorge, and we have done several other art projects which is collaborative. And one thing which I can always emphasize and say is that, and for me it was a challenge because I was exposed to an area that I was not familiar with. And for him it was a challenge because he was dealing with someone who has no clue about arts. So, it was a learning process from the two sides. And one thing that I always say is that the only thing that kind of work can continue and last long is to accept to and deal with unfamiliar challenges, to get out of your comfort zone.
And actually it's also interesting to talk right now about the Madrid situation that you have seen, no? About the manteros and the project that the assembly of the manteros is developing here, and the assembly that they are doing since 1 year. Yeah. So it would be, you have been here just for a few days, so it's hard to give a broader.
Although it's also it is somehow limited, and I had a limited time to spend with manteros here. But the way I observed and the way of what I have seen, and there are certain similarities. And whether we live in the north of Europe or southern part of Europe, there are certain similarities. The struggle is almost similar in a certain way, but different in another way. If we are talking about the conditions, yes, they are sort of different. And especially the condition of manteros here is somehow unique and tough if I compare it to and what I see in Ireland or in UK or other European countries I visited before. And but the similarity is almost the same, because we are all struggling to be visible, to be recognized, to be given an opportunity to survive, to live a normal life. That similarity is there, but the condition and the level of the struggle is different.